Hello, hello. Welcome to another ohmTown Daily News show. I'm about to start. Let's get going here. Hello, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and this is the ohmTown Daily News show for September 27th, 2022. I think the stream alert went out for the 26th. No, my time machine is not working, and no, we're not all in it. At any rate, the articles have been selected and the time has come. Let's get into today's news. Normally, I would go through this and tell you what ohmTown is and why it exists, but not today. I'm going to get right into something that's just kind of bugging me a little bit, and that's here on the Hatch Ideas channel. Bitcoin surges 7% to top $20,000, its highest level in more than a week, even as stocks hit 2022 lows. So why am I irritated by this? It's because they jumped the gun. They came out of the gate and posted that this is $20,000. Bitcoin has jumped up above it, but even before the day ended, it was below $20,000. And they modify their title as they go. CNBC article, Bitcoin slides back under 19,000. This is the same URL that see, it says Bitcoin surges 7% to top $20,000. But when you click that link, it takes you to the very same article that now says Bitcoin slides back below 19,000 as stocks fall deeper into bear market. Arjun Karpal is the author of this over at CNBC. Yeah, sure. Context changes, time impacts when this article was actually relevant, but you know what? That title changed and it updated 2 hours ago and it probably updated again since then. But Bitcoin briefly now topped $20,000 and it drives me nuts. So the article really is temporally bound, but then they keep on changing it, but they leave the article so that the URL so that it says that it tops $20,000. That's not true. It may have, but at the end of the day, it went back down. So why not write an article that is true to the time that you write the article and then create another article that is relevant to the time then, instead of having this clickbaity kind of not true, not factual article that was sent out. It was aggregated by my aggregator because it was publicly accessible and I had the ability to grab it. So obviously it was a published article. But here it says, it briefly topped 20,000 on Tuesday, hitting its highest level in more than a week, but it's struggling to break out of the tight trading range. Yep, I say that its max for the duration is going to be $25,000. I don't see a foreseeable future. I don't see a time frame where it's going to go above it until all regulation, monitoring, and countless other businesses decide to adopt it as a currency that is viable. Right now, the only reason why Bitcoin has any value is because it's pegged to the US dollar. It has no inherent value. It's not tied to the GDP. It's tied to something that is tied to the GDP. So it is beyond really arm's reach in terms of value. Right now, the reason why it has value is because early adopters and others with the fear of missing out are chasing after this, hoping that they're going to continue to strike it ever richer because there are Bitcoin billionaires out there. So at the end of today, we're looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropping 125 points, S&P down only 7, NASDAQ popping up out of the red at 26, and Bitcoin sitting at 19,000. And now it's actually dropped below 19,000, so it's at 18,968. This kind of volatility in intraday trading of Bitcoin is going to keep on happening. I don't see it climbing to 25,000 anytime soon, but I think that's its upper limit for long term. Long term for me being about a year. I don't think it's climbing out of this. Probably until 2024. But that's just me. There are a lot of people that purchased at above $30,000 of Bitcoin. They are going to be in the red for a considerable amount of time. They may lose their shirt on this. I don't know what the volume is for that price point, but it's not looking good. There was actually a red notice sent out to go after the founders of Terra, a Bitcoin platform, for whatever shenanigans were going on with them. I've spoken to the topic of Terra a couple of times in the last 4 months or so. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can go back and take a look at it. But this is the article. Let me throw it into chat. And if you're in my chat, hello. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw them into chat. We can talk about it. The next article, while I'm doing that, if you are here in the States, there's a few other data points that you might find interesting. So Bitcoin dropped below $19,000, and everybody is goo-goo about Bitcoin, so I like to include it. Gas prices went up almost 3 pennies, which, naturally isn't that big of a deal. But it's quite intriguing because CPI and the producer price index is all going to go up. But it's lagged by an entire month reporting period unless you're in the loop regarding that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, crude is at an ever low price of $86 for Brent crude, and WTI is 78. So, I mean, oil prices are low. So why is gas going up in price? It's called greed, folks. It's called greed. And the only people that are yay for it are the people that are making money off of it. And they're probably not everyday Joes. The next article is over in the Tabletop Nights channel. Roguelike turn-based RPG Sea Horizon launches on October 20th for Nintendo Switch, 2023 for PlayStation and Xbox, and it's already on Steam as a demo and as early access. You can get into it, but I already opened that up. 1 second. Doink. Let me back up. There we go. I'm new here. The East Asia Soft has announced that Sea Horizon will launch for Nintendo Switch on October 20th, followed by releases for PlayStation 5, 4, Xbox Access, and 1 in 2023. The roguelike turn-based RPG is currently on Steam Early Access. This is an article over at rpgsite.net by Adam Vitale. I think that's how they pronounce their last name. I don't normally play these videos, but I'll get to a quick little spot in here. It has a neat mechanic. On a hex map, as you move around, it pops up areas that you can see and are discovered, and you can actually travel around it, and then you get into combat with various opponents, and you have cards and boosts and all kinds of stuff. I think this will be a fun game. It might be one on my radar for long-term play. I have yet to find something that I'm really, really interested in. Although Above Snakes is one that I helped kickstart and looks like a lot of fun. I'd still try it, but it's so early access that I don't know what it's ultimately going to be like, so I don't play it much publicly, if at all, really. At any rate, go check out Sea Horizon over on Steam. Let me do something real quick here. And the next article is a record 11.4 million barrels of bourbon are aging in Kentucky, much like Mayor Watt right here. in ohmTown. I too am aging in ohmTown, enough for billions of bottles. It's such a weird way to turn that phrase there, because depending on the bottle, I guess it could be trillions of bottles. You know, it's like bath water. You can just sell it, just make smaller bottles, and people will still pay. So it's no secret that Kentucky is a state full of bourbon lovers and bourbon distillers too. In 2021, the state recorded its highest ever inventory of bourbon barrels, 11.4 million. In total, Kentucky held a historic 12 million barrels aged in 2021. The tax assessed value of these barrels amounts to a whopping $5.2 billion. And obviously, those barrels get turned into bottles and it rotates out while more is being distilled. So you could probably count on $5.2 billion being the standard, I would say, monthly valuation of tax assessed value of Kentucky bourbon. Not bad, I'd say, right? Yeah, that's a lot of drinking. It's a press release from the nonprofit Kentucky Distillers Association. While the state is clearly pumping out plenty of juice, it appears that Kentucky is falling behind when others come to variety. The bluegrass state contained 24% of what? Oh, pardon me one second. Doink. I actually opened all of these up so I could just go right on through, but at any rate, I got to stop clicking. Nicolette Baker is the author of this over at VinePair. And if you want to read more about it, then you can go over there and read it. But they say here that the bluegrass state contained 24% of United States distilleries in 2020, a number that has since dropped to a mere 6%. As of 2 years ago, that's pretty precipitous, wouldn't you say? It says now that California now leads with the most distilleries nationwide as agave-based spirits rapidly grow in popularity among drinkers. Agave. Tequila. Since 1999, production has soared by 475% in the state. It's an industry that boasts 22,500 jobs in Kentucky and $9 billion back into the Commonwealth's economy. But it says, despite its setbacks in the overall spirit space, Kentucky-made bourbon is still going strong. Yeah, that's a lot of barrels to be turned into bottles and poured into glasses. Let's move on to the next article. Did I throw that last link in there? No, I did not. Oh, Mayor Watt. One of these days. So the Artemis moon mission, something that I've been watching, but I continue to believe that the design for the Artemis rocket is poor. It has the same build essentially as age-old rockets of yore, and it's still leaking here and there. I think that it is ultimately a sieve of potential leakage. We need to change how we design these rockets so that we avoid this same issue. The moment that it was on the pad, I said to people that this thing isn't going to launch because it's going to spring a leak. And sure enough, it had another leak, and then another leak, and then another leak. And now it's being pulled off the pad because of a hurricane. So they're saying that November is when the rocket might do another attempt. But all this shifting around, who knows if it's going to launch even in November. So the title of this article over in the Hedge Ideas channel is Artemis Moon Mission Likely Delayed to November as NASA Moves Rocket Out of Hurricane's Path. So it says in the article snippet, NASA rolled the SLS rocket back into the Mammoth Vehicle Assembly Building for protection at Kennedy Space Center ahead of potential impact from Hurricane Ian. That jerk, Ian. Come on, Ian. Go somewhere else. Or dissipate. That would be great too. Michael Sheets is the author of this. I don't think they're the owner of the Sheets That's funny. There, Michael Sheets has the Twitter account, the Sheets Tweets. Marketing god there. So there you go. NASA Associate Administrator Jim Free said that the agency expects to conduct work on the rocket while it's in the VAB, replacing limited life components, like every seal at every junction, I suppose. But maybe I'm just cynical and I just don't see the silver lining in whatever it's going to ultimately do. For the rocket and capsule, limited life describes items which need to be refreshed or checked periodically, such as batteries or propellant tanks. That's interesting. But with its propellant, as it keeps, getting charged up and then discharged, I think that flexing might be causing part of the problem, because the seals just keep kind of springing a leak. But like I said, it's this old tech being reused. I think that it's old tech. Maybe somebody can correct me. That would be great. Set me straight. The next article is over in the continuity report. And I just want to say there's not much that I can say about this other than, my goodness, people, it's 2022, the 21st century. We have all kinds of people in all stages of society doing all manner of benefit to society, and we still have a problem with racism. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you people? Caleb McLaughlin, who plays Lucas Sinclair on Stranger Things, opened up about facing racism as a young actor on Netflix's hit sci-fi series. It definitely took a toll on me as a younger kid, the actor said at the Heroes Comic Con Belgium convention on Sunday, where they were it was their very first Comic Con. That racism had a toll on him. And I just don't get it. Why do people have to be such, and I'm going to use some slang here, shitbirds about other people? The color of somebody's skin does not make them a different person in any way, shape, or form. They aren't superior, they aren't inferior. That is the nature of genetics. They are who they are, and it is the content of their being that makes a difference, not the color of their skin. I mean, it has been said again and again and again. There is no difference. And everybody who ever says this, that there's some difference between us, short of being some outside facing thing, like, well, I'm shorter than the next person, or I have a faster receding hairline than the next person, or one thing or another, right? There's some genetics that might make us up, but it's how you treat other people and what you do in life that makes the difference. And it's a shame that in this day and age, we're still screwing around with the worry of somebody just because they are different, quote unquote, different than the other person. So you can take your racism and stuff it. And frankly, if you're racist and you're in my channel, get out. I'm not interested in anything that you have to say. Except, I'm sorry, I'm a racist. I will change my ways. I'm willing to have a conversation with somebody that's willing to try and address that very major character flaw. But if you're not willing to have a conversation, then I'm not willing to have you in my channel. Ethan Schanfeld is the author of this article over at variety.com. And let's see, McLaughlin continued, even now, some people don't follow me or don't support me because I'm black. Sometimes overseas, you feel the racism, you feel the bigotry. Sometimes it's hard to talk about and for people to understand. When they were younger, it definitely affected them a lot. Yeah, so it started when he was 14, and people were giving him crap about his race. Well, we're all human beings. So let me move on. This next article is in the Aerith channel, which is about RPGs and world building. And this comes from RPGfan.com. An old country saying, "The nights are drawing in," has returned to their household. That's the author saying this. This means that the days are getting shorter and winter, or at least autumn, is on its way. As they sit writing this, the date is September 22nd. Well, today is the 27th, which just so happens to be the autumnal equinox in the northern hemisphere. So let's look at this article and see how it managed to get published on almost a week later. Tom Cox is the author, and these are some of the new RPGs that are coming out. That's the title of this. RPGs coming this week, 9/26/2022, not the week that he wrote that. The Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero. That's September 27th, so right now. PS4, Switch, and Windows. Moonscar, September 27th for pretty much everything. Tunic, September 27th again. Pretty much everything except PC. It might actually already have been. Yeah, it was released. Tunic was released earlier this year for Steam and Xbox, apparently. Criminal Dissidia, coming out for Windows tomorrow, September 28th. The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow, September 28th. Windows, Mac, Linux. That looks kind of scary. Moonbreaker, it says entering early access September 29th. That looks interesting. I don't know what the full scope of it is. It says for those of you with a passion for painting miniatures, you're in for a treat here. That's kind of the takeaway that I had just looking at this still. Moonbreaker is a strategy RPG looking to replicate the tabletop experience while also letting you paint your very own in-game miniatures. Oh my God. The amount of money that they can make if they are actually doing that as kind of when you paint it, it's one and done, or you have to pay a fee to reset it. I don't know what they're doing. Don't hold me to that. And I'm hoping I don't give them a business model. But for you to be able to take your pieces and paint them at the detail of miniature painting would be spectacular draws for a lot of people. The title is designed to be a true digital miniatures experience and will be set in a sci-fi universe created by Brandon Sanderson, author of the Mistborn series. The same Brandon Sanderson that I think wrote 5 books that they kickstarted, and it just blew up. They have such a following; it's spectacular. As the title progresses towards its eventual fall release, Moonbreaker will release new rosters of crew, assists, or maybe assistants, captains, which will offer players battle strategies. It's worth noting that all of the characters are unlockable through gameplay, so you won't need to shell out money to enjoy the game. I guess you just pay for it once. I'm going to go right after this stream and put that on my wish list if it's over on Steam. It just says Windows and Mac OS, so I'll have to hunt. And it says early access, so that kind of implies Steam, at least to me. Valkyrie Elysium is September 9th, September 29th, PS5 and PS4. I don't know if that's already out on Steam. It doesn't really hint at it. Validate, struggling singles in your area, September 29th. Windows, Mac, OS, and Linux. So, Validate is described as a romantic visual novel about 13 adults in Jersey City. It's Jercy. I'm not sure if that's a typo. Maybe it is Jersey, but anyway, Jersey City. Navigating new relationships and the harsh realities that come alongside them. Arrowheart is the next title, September 30th. And I guess a few more. So Life is Strange, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, you should go over and read the minutia over at RPG Fan by Tom Cox. That's the article. RPGs coming this week for 9/26/2022. Let's move on to the next article. And not before I throw this link into chat. I'm really sorry. I've put yesterday's episode of the podcast up as well. The show notes are in that if you are oh so motivated. It should sync to the website. There's an icon there right now that's called podcast. When you click it, it should pull it up as well. If it doesn't, it'll sync. I don't monitor it too much. The next article is Amazon is holding another Prime Day this October, and the article says, here's everything you need to know. Another Prime Day is coming. For the first time, Amazon is holding a second 2-day deals event that will see huge sales on everything from tech, apparel, food, books, and more. The event, which the retail behemoth is calling Prime Early Access Sale, will take place October 11th and 12th. It's like what they're about to say is it's a Prime event in the winter. Let's see if that's what they actually say. It's like a summer Prime Day event. The deals will be exclusively available to Prime Day members. So sign up. It's like $150 now. If you want to take advantage of the limited time sales, you'll want to sign up for Amazon Prime subscription, which currently costs $15 a month. You can also sign up for a 30-day free trial. Students and government assistance recipients can also get a monthly subscription for $50 or 50% off. Well, I'm not a student and I'm not government assistance. I'm not sure what all this means. So I would look into it, and there might be some more context to that. The second Prime Day is one of the many deals event experiments the company has rolled out since the pandemic. Since 2020, Amazon has put on apparel sale, a pet focus campaign, and full beauty deals sale, or deals day. Yeah, I think as they acquire various companies in various sectors, they opened it up for sale events to sell a whole bunch and make that back their money as soon as possible. Let's go on to the next article. A company called Biogen has agreed to pay $900 million to settle allegations that it paid doctors kickbacks to prescribe MS drugs, multiple sclerosis drugs. A former Biogen employee, Michael Baduniak, alleged Biogen paid kickbacks to doctors to encourage them to prescribe its multiple sclerosis drugs. Let's see. A former Biogen employee turned whistleblower, Michael Baduniak, alleged the company paid kickbacks to doctors to encourage them to prescribe its multiple sclerosis drugs. This article is by Spencer Kimball. Did I say what the last article was by? I'm sorry. That Amazon article about the new Prime Day coming October 11th and 12th is by Anna Tingley. I feel like I am falling behind in my process where I tell everybody exactly who it is that wrote the article. So this Biogen has agreed to pay $900 million to settle the allegations. Badoniak will receive about $250 million of the federal proceeds, according to the Justice Department. Biogen, in a statement, denied any wrongdoing in the case because that's what you do when you've done no wrong. Now, I understand that, yeah, sometimes that happens, but for crying out loud. What sucks is that justice really won't be provided to anybody. You know, nobody should have been prescribed these drugs without them actually having MS. and any shenanigans, backroom deals. This is the reason why I left finance. This is the reason why I left big business. I was going down this road and I got really burnt out with this idea of all of this nepotism and backroom deals and all of this shenanigans. And it's a different S word that I want to say, but I try to minimize as much as possible my colorful language. And as mayor of ohmTown, I kind of need to. A former Biogen employee turned whistleblower, Michael Bodaniak, sued the pharmaceutical company in 2012, and it's taken 10 years on behalf of the federal government under the False Claims Act. Bodaniak alleged Biogen paid kickbacks to doctors in the form of speaking fees, consulting fees, and meals from 2009 to 2014 to encourage them to prescribe its MS drugs. So if they're willing to pay $900 million, how much money did they actually make? And as I've said in other streams, sure, there was a bad actor in this. And one bad apple spoils the bunch. So how much of the bunch really was spoiled? And anybody that was given kickbacks, anybody that was paid to prescribe, all of their medical licensing should be pulled because they're unethical. They're greedy bastards that are willing to compromise people's health for money, for food, which the people that need that medication may actually need more than the doctors. They do. It's just disgusting. And I don't like this. I don't like this kind of stuff. They capitulated, but really they are a bad actor. Somewhere in there is a problem. And by settling and walking away, anybody else that talks about it will have to go through this financial problem of saying, well, these are the people that did this. But Biogen can just take somebody to court now and say, well, we didn't do anything wrong. We just decided in a statement to say, hey, here's $900 million. We didn't do anything wrong. Right. Let's move on to the next article. Analysts are falling back in love with Nvidia, with Citi giving it almost 100% upside. I can tell you why Citi and JP Morgan love the stock and are giving it serious potential upside. Their new article, oh my God, it's doing that again. Doggone it. Anyway, I can tell you why they are giving it such a bonus perspective as it's going to go through the roof. It's because they have outrageous prices for their cards. And it's born from the crypto market and greedy bastards who buy it off of the shelf in droves and then sell it in the aftermarket like eBay and other places at $1,000 more for a card instead of producing enough that everybody can buy them and hobbling this purchase, this ability to purchase it in bulk. I mean, people were buying dozens of them, but you can't stop capitalism. So instead of selling it at MSRP, now they're raising the MSRP through the roof, $500, $600 above previous generations for the performance, issuing two cards where one is $400, $500 less expensive than the other one, and claiming that it's only because of 4 gigs worth of DDR6 RAM. GDDR6 RAM. No, that's not why. Its compute power is dramatically hobbled one way or the other. When you look at the two cards, you're like, oh, I'm getting the better card. No, you might want to look at things. Look at things a little harder. There's some serious problems with our observation skills as consumers, particularly when it comes down to Nvidia and their cards. Take a look at it. And the price is the biggest issue. So I say to everybody, don't buy these 40 series cards until the prices drop. Make the crypto people spend all of their money on it. Oh, wait, they don't need them anymore because crypto is tanking, and so everybody's walking away from it because when they did mine, it was at $30,000 or $20,000. They think that it's going to go back up. One person said something like $100,000, which um, I don't know. Maybe there needs to be a drug test there. Anyway, that's why people are Citi and JP Morgan are saying that Nvidia is going up. They're going to be making a ton of profits because people are going to sit there and go, ooh, 40 series cards, I'm all over it. They are more powerful than the 30 series, but they are not worth $1,500 for a 4080. Wait till the 4090 comes out. Oh, and the TI is for titanium. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one because it just drives me nuts that it's just greed. It's just greed powering all of this. And I'm a capitalist, for crying out loud. Believe me, I am a capitalist. I believe in selling products and services. Like for like service. You pay me, I do the service, or I do the service and you pay me. Either way you want to do it, but it's at a value that is compulsory with the work that I am doing. It isn't a $1,500 card that only has a price born from 2 years of captivity and the experience that Nvidia has learned from the abuses of people buying all of their equipment at MSRP prices. Well, now they go, well, I can raise the MSRP. So Roger Stone, this is a political title. Roger Stone is heard saying, let's get right to the violence in unearthed footage from 2020 election handed over to the January 6th committee. This again is, behind closed doors, in private sessions, in, darkened, hallowed halls. This is the type of abuse that happens when the light isn't shining. And that's why we need transparency in government. That's why we need people that have a spine and are willing to uncover this stuff and bring it forward. New footage obtained by CNN shows Roger Stone calling for violence before the 2020 election. In the footage, Stone is also heard saying, fuck voting. You see Antifa shoot to kill. The footage filmed by Danish producers could become crucial evidence in the January 6th committee. And this is what I'm talking about, because all of these ultra rich people would not be in the line of fire. They're going to have countless people who simply don't know better or think that they're going to come out on the winning side of something that was already discussed, argued, and solved quite some time ago. And we've come to the conclusion that what they want is not what society wants, but a few wingnuts do want, and a few is what they are. The rest of the people are voting for a party that has some other element of their selected pathway, right? So what I'm saying is they may want something like government staying out of their life, so to speak. Yet nothing about the government is impacting their life, except that you have to be a member of society. Thus, you're part of the contract of society, and so you can't lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, etc. You have to pay your taxes. It's part of the contract. Buy an island if you don't want to pay taxes, but you don't gain the protections of the United States. So on and so forth. There's a lot of conversation here, but there are elements within the parties that sit there and vote a certain downline, but won't vote for this sociopathic leadership. But they can't walk away from the party because that's where the money is. And they're not going to branch out and create their own because that's where the money is. They'll be marginalized. They'll be hounded. So much vitriol will come through being thrown at them. And when they try and switch parties, they're not really accepted because, well, you've been in that other party for so long, you can't be trusted with the reins in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot here, but suffice it to say, the wingnuts, like Roger Stone, are the ones that are causing the problems, and they won't be impacted by the fighting and violence and whatnot. Why? Because they're going to be in their jets, or they're going to be out on their mountaintop in their house with security and everything else that wealth guarantees. And anybody that were to try and bring violence to them, well, they could met out violence because they would have private protection that's willing to do anything for money. That's kind of how it works. So here we are, businessinsider.com. Azmi Haroon is the author of this article, and you have this wingnut sitting there saying, let's get straight to the violence. We don't need to worry about voting. Antifa, which is anti-fascist, he's saying shoot to kill. This is fascism. This guy, well, let's just say he looks like something else. I'll let your imagination wander that way. Yeah, I think he's a scumbag, so. And it's not vitriol, it's not anger, it's an observation. I'm willing to have a conversation with people about this stuff. But there's some times where you just have to call a duck. And when it quacks like that, it's a duck. All respect to ducks. Let's move on to the next article. I have very little patience for somebody that says some of the things that I've heard in recent days. 44 House Democrats push Biden DOJ to investigate DeSantis over cruel migrant flights. If you're not aware of this, DeSantis and others powered up private planes and sent migrants over to other states. And it's not just Martha's Vineyard. Yet, in an act of compassion and understanding and not sociopathic behavior, bordering on psychopathic behavior, they were taken in and solutions are being found to find a better life for them. But they were misled. And I called it, and I will call it again. I think that it's human trafficking because it had a political, it had a political purpose. And they weren't party to that political purpose. They were told that they were going to be well received and that there were opportunities in these other states, but not that they were being flown over there illegally. They didn't have residency in the United States. They weren't being told that they were traveling to other states legally. They weren't told anything even remotely honest. And I think that it's human trafficking. And I laid out the definition of this when I first talked about it a few episodes ago. So the actions of the officials in Texas and Florida were not only fundamentally cruel and uniquely un-American, there remains a likelihood that federal laws were violated. And until actually something happens, D-bags like this will remain in power. I think that he needs to be criminally charged for his actions. Jake Johnson over at commondreams.org, is the author of this article. And it says, again, more than 40 House Democrats. And it's just the House, though. I think more people need to be engaged in this. Urged the Biden Justice Department to open an investigation into Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' inhumane scheme that transported dozens of migrants to Martha's Vineyard, alleging the Republican leader and other officials involved may have violated federal law. Harrowing interviews and other things that I have read as well. Obviously, they have more insider information, considering their role in government. They deceived migrants. They packed them onto buses, chartered flights. They weren't allowed to take photos of the journey. They made 2 unannounced stops before landing in Martha's Vineyard. It's alleged that the immigration officials knowingly falsified mailing addresses for the migrants by selecting arbitrary homeless shelters across the United States with the expectation that migrants would be required to attend court proceedings as early as next week in states thousands of miles away or face forced removal. It's all kinds of scumbaggery. Sorry, something popped up. I would urge you to go over and read the rest of this article over at Common Dreams. There's much more to it. Understand the full and I really wish that the people who need to read this and need to hear this and need to pay attention of what type of humanity you want to be part of would hear it and would listen and would challenge their preconceived notions about what is right and what is wrong, and lying to people just to ship them off somewhere as a political stunt is probably not the side you want to be on. And if it is, perhaps you're sociopathic. And that's not a slight or a slam. It's an observation. It is me saying that you might want to talk to somebody to find out if your emotional quotient, your level of connection to humanity is sufficient for being a member of society. We can talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. Six-figure artworks by a fifth grader. How about that in perspective of the previous article? A fifth grader is making $125,000 for some of their paintings, and apparently they are 10 years old. Let's take a look. New York Times, six-figure artworks by fifth grader. I've read about this person before. Andre Valencia's paintings have sold for more than $125,000, and they're 10 years old. A contemporary art world has had more than its share of young talent, but it's tough to recall an artist who's generated as much early career recognition as Andre Valencia. In the last year, he's gone from a relative unknown to a bona fide art phenomenon. His surrealist-style paintings were acquired by deep-pocketed collectors like Tommy Mottola and Jessica Goldman Serebnik. Sorry, I flipped a letter. During Art Basel Miami Beach. In June, he had a solo exhibition at the Chase Contemporary Gallery in Soho, where all 35 works were sold. The gallery said fetching $50,000 to $125,000. One of his paintings went for $159,000 with fees at a Philips de Pury auction in Hong Kong, and another hit $230,000 at a charity auction gala in Capri, Italy. Said he's happy with his art. He was standing before one of his works, The Professor, a large cubist-like painting of a man rendered in acrylic and oil that stands about 4.5 feet, as tall as the artist himself. This one I did when I was younger, when I was 8, he added shyly. Andre Valencia, folks, art prodigy, little Picasso. What do you think? I like the painting that's behind him. If you are listening to this in the podcast, you'll have to follow the link in the show notes. Go over through ohmTown, stop by, make a comment, say hello, something. There's a Discord. The podcast exists. YouTube channel exists. You can get the podcast anywhere. Pardon me one second. Thought I got rid of my cough, but my allergies are really kicking up today. But you can't see what I'm about to talk about, which is there is an awesome painting behind this dude. I dig that painting. I'm not a smoker. I become really agitated by cigarette smokers. They drive me nuts in the day and age of, cancer abound, compromised immune systems and whatnot. Cigarette smoke sucks, but that painting, the colors are so vibrant and pop because it has a gray background on the painting. I love that painting, but they're holding a cigar. I don't really care. I like that painting. At any rate, I hope I've hyped it up enough. You can go and check it out. Wow. Wow. A detail of the work, which he completed and signed in less than 10 minutes. Life choices, folks. Some people have built-in skill. I mean, innate skill is a thing. And this is pretty amazing. So again, it's a picture of him, kind of Andre sitting in a chair, and behind him is this picture that I want now. But I probably won't be able to spend thousands of dollars. It says underage artists are rare but not unique in the art world. Several years ago, collectors paid $250 to $1,500 for expressionist doodles by a 2-year-old art star, Lola June. Some art stars, like Alexandra Nichita, who at 12 was labeled a Mozart with a paintbrush on talk shows and earned millions in sales, continue to make work. Pardon me, I need to go have a chat with my children. I'll be back tomorrow. And I'll either have really good news, and that is that they are all taking on expressionist painting. And hopefully I won't have to worry about their college. Or I'll be telling you that I'm going to probably end up streaming into my 80s just to pay for their college. Maybe 90s, because I'm not even making any money here. At any rate, I'm here to talk about the news every day, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes I run a little bit late, sometimes I run a little bit early. But either way, I'm here, and you can always catch up via the VOD here on Twitch, or later on the next day over on YouTube. You can always download the podcast. It is lagged by about, nowadays it's about 12 hours. I try and catch up in the morning or as soon as I can get everything processed. But I run ohmTown and I do a bunch of other things. So if you want all of that to stop, I guess I need to get word out that I'm here and have people hang out in the channel. So with all that, I'll see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye.